We're here.
Yeah, you're probably gonna get the color of these things.
That's it.
Exciting.
You never met Mike, no.
Ryan,
How are you?
it's nice to meet you.
Jerry, just give me 1 minute and I'll turn the recorder on.
Okay, Jerry, I think you got my papers.
Okay, Harry, you can see us, we can see you.
I could see people there, yes.
And
Oh, Harry.
You can
when
see,
Mike
yeah.
put the paper
Okay.
down, I moved them over.
Okay. Cool. Everybody have an outline?
Hang on a second, we're not recording yet.
Recorder.
Okay, Jerry, you can start the meeting.
Start the parade.
Yeah, I actually.
I need the agenda.
Agendas- Oh, here.
There you go. Yeah.
There's the whole pack. Sorry. Then there's agendas, yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Ben, you can have a seat wherever you want.
Yeah, if you want to move up here and.
Okay, now I get a better feel like,
Sure.
Okay.
is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
I had a bad feel with you guys talking about.
That would be fine. It might, you might be able to get more information and whatever, so.
Mike, do you know
Mike,
them?
I was gonna say, did
Ben
you?
Rita
have-
from the Abington Journal.
Good morning, you guys at South Abington. Yes.
All right, Jerry, you can start.
Ready to roll.
You gotta start the meeting. You usually hit the gavel before you go, I was flipping for it. You're good. You're good.
No, that's okay.
I'll shut up right now.
We don't have to start pounding out already. Good evening, welcome to the Borough of Park Summit Special Meeting, August the 15th, 2022, 7 p.m. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez, Ms. Kehoe,
Here,
Mr. Beston,
Here.
Mayor Kelly,
he dropped off somehow.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Shields is absent, Solicitor Hayes, and Mr. Mitchell is also absent. And Ms. Simmerl is, at present, is absent. We'll stand for a moment of meditation. Salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor? All opposed? Favors have it. 4-0. No public comment tonight, evidently. For discussion, we have a request for the Summit Park residential development. This would be our.
Harry's back.
Hang.
Right.
Parker.
Parker Field Townhouse. Do you have your paperwork on this too? Ronnie?
Yes.
good.
Yes, underneath here.
Okay. We have Mike Noto, who is the.
Harry, you're muted if you can hear me. Okay, there
I
you
can
are.
hear you, yes.
Okay.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. We're going to have Mike Noto lead us off on what his project is and the reason for our special meeting. So we'll hand it over to you, Mike.
Thank
you. Would like to.
I hope everyone has a brief outline here of what we're looking at. We recently received notification from Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection that we need to have a ownership of sewer lines. They do not want private individuals owning sewer lines. They want them owned by the municipality.
Mike, you might just back up and clarify the development and where it is for.
Okay, so the map here that we have is Sheridan Avenue and Harwood Avenue, which is the old David Parker baseball field. Okay. What our plans propose is three two families on Sheridan Avenue and two families and a single family on Harwood Ave. Also, we purchased the land across the street and demolished a home, which was the old Gerard house that was in disrepair. So we demolished that.
Good.
And
It needed.
yeah, it surely did. It was bad. The fire company didn't even want to practice on it. It was so bad. So
Yeah.
that's got, so this is where we're working at now. Now the question becomes sewage. With our sewer system, what we're proposing is on Harwood Avenue, there's an existing sewer manhole. And we're looking at making one cut on Harwood and running a sewer system into the community. Virginia brought up a good point saying that let's put the sewers behind the units like they are on Harwood, on Sheridan. So we have sewer lines back there. The reason being is DEP does not want anyone owning sewer line other than a municipality. So we're kind of in a catch-22 situation. There is a remedy to me not installing the sewer system. It would be to do individual sewer hookups for each respective home. So it would mean 6 paved cuts out here, 5 paved cuts out here. So we would basically, Sheridan Avenue was paved last year, basically just ripping patchwork. The other problem you run into too, every time you take an old terracotta line, which Sheridan Avenue is an old terracotta line, and you put something new into it. And as you know, Sheridan Avenue at the baseball field is extremely flat, okay? So now you're taking an area that's extremely flat, you've got old clay lines in there, and you're adding to that. You're going to add 6 new intersections with that. It's probably not the best idea. So what we proposed was there's an existing manhole on Harwood. We would use that existing manhole, come in and run our network of sewers. One of the questions that was brought up, every resident that's going to buy a townhome pays a sewer bill, just like they would in the rest of the borough. So whatever the rate is, if it's one person living there, they're going to pay the same as the person across the street. So everybody does pay the same rate. What we've shown in yellow, of course, would get changed if the sewer lines went in the back. We would do an easement to ensure that the borough has plenty of access to get in there. We would do the easement. We would provide that to the borough's engineer. The borough's engineer can check it for meets and bounds. After the borough engineer has gone through it, has verified the meets and bounds, we then provide it to the solicitor for form and content, and any changes we want to make to the easement we can make. And then we would record it at our cost and then provide that back to the borough. The other thing is our communities, despite the DEP does not like POAs, we've had very good success with our property owners association. You see it at Fieldstone with Flores. We've done 7 communities in the Abingtons that have POAs. They're viable, they're strong. One of the things I mentioned in here, if in the event in the future, the borough has to go in on this property, 1, you have an easement, 2, any cost you incur on fixing, repairing, maintaining that line, you would be able to build a POA. And what we would do is we have covenants and restrictions that have already been recorded for this development. We would do an addendum to the covenants and restrictions, which is very common. And we would include in there notice of this sewer extension, and we would put in there that if the borough incurred any cost, that the POA would be liable for that cost. So the borough wouldn't charge the POA. So in the future, if it's built right, if it's inspected by Caldwell 90, the piping that's used today, it lasts 100 years. I mean, there's stuff really, we've got good material. So
How big are the pipes today?
6 inches.
6?
6 inches. So you have 3-inch coming out.
Mhm.
You really don't want to go with 8 because with the new water efficient toilets, 1.6 gallon flush, you don't get enough. So 6 gallon, 6-inch diameter. Years ago, we used to use 8, but 6 is, yeah. So
We're talking all plastic.
all PVC, Schedule 35 plastic,
Mhm.
concrete manholes, integral flow channels.
Will they have backflow Anything to prevent a backflow?
No.
Okay, so they're just free flowing.
Free flowing.
Okay.
On sanitary, a lot of times with that, you will have blockages with the backflow, or, so,
As compared to free flow.
yeah.
Madam, if I could ask a couple of questions. Capping fees. Who will pay for those and how many will there be?
The tapping fees we pay to Arwa,
Right.
and there will be 11.
There'll be 11 capping fees?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
11 tapping fees.
And the ADUs you already covered. I just have, Mary Claire, maybe you can help me with this. I'm looking at the layout for the sewer line. Would this be considered private property to go into the backyards of other people and repair lines?
That's the purpose of the,
Right, I would agree, as long as the easement is in place, and so what you're
And
saying
approved by
also,
Mary Claire.
right, is that your attorney would be drafting that and then
We
we review.
will, our engineer will draft the meets and bounds, the
Okay.
footprint of these. And we will send that to Caldwell Negley. They will approve the location. Once that location, the meets and bounds of the footprint of that easement, then we'll turn it over to Mary Claire. Our attorney will draft it in easement. And then Mary Claire at that time can add, subtract, change, modify to her liking, and then we'll record that. So it will be reviewed by your engineer and reviewed by your solicitor.
So we wouldn't need the homeowner's approval
No,
to go.
you can go in that yard anytime.
One of
And
the,
it's gonna be clearly identified on the deed so that people
Yes.
know it going
And in
into
the
it.
covenants.
yeah, another question I have is this. Over the years, people have a tendency to drop grease and oil into their sewer lines. And it builds up. If a sewer line were to get blocked and back up into a house, who's responsible for that?
Will there be backflow preventers on the laterals?
No,
that's what I just asked.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't-
no.
So then
I
are
didn't
we
realize you were talking
responsible
laterals.
for it?
Well,
The municipality?
no, the laterals are owned by the individual homeowner.
So the individual homeowner would still be
The
responsible
whole
if it's
individual,
backed
like,
up.
just like Dogwood or Gladiola, right now, the borough owns the main and the laterals. If you notice, I didn't highlight in pink the laterals. So the laterals are owned by the homeowner.
But the question I had was, if the main line running through the properties were to back up,
Then that would be the boroughs, but the chances.
that would be, but what about if it backs up into a house? Which has happened.
Right.
This has happened.
And then however, how do you handle that in the borough? What's the position?
Currently, if that happens, if there's a problem with the main that causes a backup into somebody's house, as long as we were not aware of the issue and didn't, like, if we were made aware of it and didn't act on it, then we're liable for it. Otherwise, we have municipal indemnity. So the
Sure.
issue is they really wanted to challenge the borough. They'd really have to prove that we knew that there was an issue. They've called a couple times, we hadn't done anything.
I think we've dealt with this question before,
We
then
have.
it comes down to where does the actual source of the issue sit? And
The main thing is you've got a 3-inch line tying into a 6-inch line. And people think 6-inch line is twice the size of a 3-inch line. It's actually much larger. So if you're going to get a blockage, your blockage is going to occur in the 3-inch line, not in the main. So you've got a 3-inch line,
Right.
which is the homeowner's responsibility. The 6-inch line would be the borough's. However, if you are going to get a blockage, it's
It's
going
gonna
to occur.
happen in 3 inches.
It's going to occur in the 3-inch, not in the 6-inch.
We've seen weirder things, so I mean, anything can
Yeah, anything can
happen.
happen, right?
You can't guarantee anything, but I think I think it's just like any other line we own, it's gonna be our responsibility to do the routine maintenance on it. And you're saying we can bill a POA for the routine
Mhm.
maintenance, so there's no reason for us not to.
So there'd be no cost to the borough.
That's what Mike is
And
saying.
if you do it, if something does happen, then it would be, the POA would pay the borough to go in there. Any damage or repairs or maintenance,
is there any limit on that, like up to a certain amount or?
no.
What's your estimated completion time?
We hope to, well, if we can get permits, that's the issue. What we did is, we have 13 units we're building, but because of the old baseball field counted as one, and the home that we demolished counted as one, that was, so we don't have sewer permits other than for the first building. That's why we have, and I thank you for having this emergency meeting. So we do have the first building, we're able to get started, we don't have anything else. So the existing EDUs that we have, one for the baseball field, one for the house that was here, that allowed us to get started. So we have started on the first house. If we are able to get this through DEP, which hopefully if we get a good decision tonight, we can move to DEP tomorrow and tell them that we would have probably 4 buildings under construction by then. So 8 units,
Are these townhomes or?
all towns.
They're all town.
What are you doing with the BMW sitting there?
Well, I wrote him a nice letter.
Who owned it?
One of the guy that lives at 413.
Oh, he's parked on your property?
He's parked on my property. I wrote him a nice letter. And
Time is of the essence.
basically the bumper sticker on, it's a beautiful BMW, but the bumper sticker is very bad bumper sticker on the back. But I did, I wrote a nice letter. I said, we're developing the property, we'd like you to move your car. The police were able, they wouldn't give me a name, but they were able to tell me where the guy lives. So I haven't heard anything, but
You can get his name, unless it's a tenant, you can get his name on lackawannacounty.org.
okay.
Mr. Young, I do have another question.
Sure.
They have to do with the sewers. Sheridan Park is level. And in the back, between the houses, the backyard, and for drainage, how are you going to pitch it for water to drain from backyards out to the road?
There's actually a catch basin on Sheridan and on Harwood, so we're able to tie into both.
So you'll have drainage
Right.
in between the houses, you'll put.
Yeah, the gutters, we'll pick up the gutters. So anything that flows onto the grass will be absorbed in the grass.
And they'll all be unpatched.
And then anything that's onto the pave, the rain gutters, will be tied into the drainage systems.
And they're all gonna be unpatched, no basements. or
No
anything.
basements.
Unrelated, I'm excited to see the townhouses. I'd love to see those.
Thank you. And like I said, it was a very good suggestion, rather than digging up somebody's front yard, dig up their backyard. So,
Yeah.
if minimal, we can get that changed. So, and it's just, when I saw that comment, I was beside myself to make 13 cuts and 13 tie-ins to an old terracotta line is only asking for trouble.
Is there an availability for a fire hydrant somewhere in there?
The existing hydrant is not, there's a hydrant on the corner here. So on the corner of
Sheridan.
and
Yeah, not at all.
Not Harwood, it's.
there's one on both. There's one here and there's
Halsted.
one here. Is it Halsted?
Oh, the one down
Is it
here?
in
Halsted,
Halsted?
yeah.
Yeah, Halsted and Earlham, huh? Okay.
I didn't realize there was one on Earl.
And how many tapping fees will there be?
11.
11 for these units. I have a
11
question.
building permits, I'm sorry, 13 building permits, 11 tapping fees.
Is there a way that you can make this area accessible to a vehicle without ripping up the whole yard so that, just reinforce the
Yeah.
ground or something? We would ask that that be considered as well, because if we do need to go in there to do maintenance, we don't have to restore a lot of work.
Sure.
And the easements will contain like
The
no
easements will be-
plantings,
I'll give
no
you
trees over
everything. Yep.
there.
Nothing.
Beautiful.
Will there be sidewalks in here or? just the road?
Sidewalk, paved, and then just from the driveway to the house. All those
So
sidewalks.
they're all in the
Nothing-
backyard.
Nothing out in the front.
All just grass. Actually, a raised bed landscaping, so one neighbor doesn't see the other neighbor.
Oh,
So they're not gonna have to worry about shoveling snow. right?
No shoveling snow.
Well,
The
they
con-
take care of all the maintenance.
the condo fee is $130 a month. It's weed whacking, mulching, fertilizing, gutter cleaning, driveways, sidewalks, everything is done.
Do you
So,
have a price point for the townhouses?
right now, we're at 300,000.
So on your website, do you have some of these condos that 2 bedrooms?
Yep.
So maybe that might
Yep.
be something.
I'll drop off something for you.
Yes, I was just in.
You've got it.
Yeah.
She wants to be in the borough.
That's it.
Yeah, I need to be in.
It
the
needs to be in the
borough.
borough. Because Jerry will pull you back if you leave.
It's just me, so don't get crazy.
That's
I
it.
don't need like a large.
No,
It's
no,
just
you
me. Yes, keep me on the front. Keep
But
me on
it's great
course on the
if we
line.
Exactly, you'll be in the cards somewhere.
This would be
I have,
perfect, Ronnie.
to keep the meeting moving, I have no problem with what Mike is asking. If nobody else has an issue, I don't know about Frank. Frank had some very valid questions. Nobody has an issue, I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Second on it, on the question.
Aye.
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 Okay, I think we're unanimous.
Thank
I think
Thank
you're
you
done.
very much, I appreciate it.
So. you can
While I
get
have a
your-
meeting of the minds here, one other quick question came up. When we purchased this, we gave you folks back this lot. This lot actually has a half of the house on it. So we are going to. This was built by John and Vince Piazza. Okay, and you've probably heard that name before, but
The half a house?
Many times.
he did whatever he wanted. Okay, and unfortunately, his son, Vince Pat, his son owns this now.
Ricky,
And what we found out is in our survey that this is,
on your property.
well, no, it's on your property.
Oh,
And it's, so we didn't take that. So we were supposed to have that as part of the sale. And then when we did the survey, we found out that half of his house is, so half that house is on the borough property.
we should be collecting
So
rent.
it's something that we should address while we're, you know,
Kevin's been through this because we had the same thing with Carnation Park. The one house was that actually the whole one side of Carnation was all screwed up and all are wrong, but all part, there was actually a house that was built on part of our park. So if you
Right.
pull his records, we can work with this stretch to get this
It's-
straightened out.
I mean, he's an amenable guy. I showed him, I said, look, you don't own this. I said, the borough owns this, and here's, satellite imagery, here's our surveyor, George Parker, who's a brilliant surveyor. We went through everything and, I thought, and then, we all knew of the dead, the things that father did. And, it's really neat, that they own this building, this house and this house, well, instead of pulling it tight to here, this house faces Earl.
Yeah.
And then this house, they moved it over here. So, I'm sure you guys don't want to own a lot, but,
Something.
Something to think about.
Sure.
My gut here, give half of it to Rich and give half of it to Mike. And we don't have anything that we have to maintain.
give it all, because actually it's IT. So it's 20,
Oh, so 5 feet does nothing for you.
no, it's, sorry, it's 30 feet, 25 of the 30 feet is
That's
taken up
awesome.
by house. So,
Okay.
I think that we
And
need
he'd be more
to
than
have
happy
them
to
pay for all the work.
Is there
if we're gonna
any
do
way that
this.
we can make them squirm a little bit from
That's-
just taking
That's gonna be Mary Claire's job. Yeah.
taking full advantage of our property for his own use?
Yeah, I also want him to pay for all the,
well, the
Well,
legal work.
The work
of course.
was-
yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, there's deed preparation and survey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I think that would be only fair.
thank you for bringing that up.
Bryan County, she's paralegal with Bryan County.
Okay.
And he's, when I cornered him, he's, my father was. Like, yeah, that, build on somebody else's property.
But he's
Right.
long gone.
Yeah.
Rich
so-
is, has the attention span of a fruit fly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this on
What
that.
I told him.
He's very
You're on-
distracted, very,
you're on
a
a-
million different.
You're on
I
record
know,
there.
but he's always in a million different directions, so it's gonna be really hard to get him to focus. You really need him to say, who's your attorney? I want to deal with your attorney.
When I dealt
Period.
with him and told him about this issue, it took him 2 months to come forward. I'm like, if someone
Oh.
told me that half of a house that I own is on somebody else's property,
Yeah.
I'd walk to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that,
All right.
All right, so we have
Okay.
contact information. then?
I'll get to.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike, for coming.
Thank
in.
you, thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
And if you can please drop
I
off
will,
something very
it will
interesting.
drop it off.
Thank
Uh,
you.
How about you, Frank? You want some information?
Uh,
Maybe you can drop off.
Mike, would you drop two off?
You
Put
got
my
it.
name on. Thank you. Mike, all I have to do is look out my back door, walk in my yard, look down the hill, and then looking at your home. We have lived before.
Yes, yes, over at, you bought Lecter's house.
Yes.
Lecter's house, there you go, yes.
Oh my God, Dave and I could be neighbors.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Yeah.
Okay, do we
I
have a
second.
Thank you. Thank you. very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and making, I made a special meeting coming
Okay,
in.
good to
Thank
see you
you.
again.
And hopefully it got us rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Bye, Harry. We don't need you anymore. Appreciate you.
Okay.